I can imagine, like, if a brand, it's a lot of measurements and testing that has been done in advance. It's not just go sound shopping online. It's an entire process. And for brands to be able to figure out the actual emotion and thoughts of their consumers, it's like gold worth, right? However, I've done it myself. I think I'm more like in a traditional way, because you got the ability, the chance to work with neuroscience. But in the traditional service, it's not always easy for the participants to articulate what they feel, what they think, and especially not knowing what they need and where they're going next if you ask those kind of questions. And thanks to you, I got the honor to visit the Nielsen lab in London in 2018 with your ex-colleague, and we got the chance to see and test an EEG, as it's called in real life. So tell us, what is EEG? What does it stand for? And how did you guys use this technique to measure what was the right and the wrong choice of music in the ads, and measuring the subconscious mind of the consumers?
Right, right. So EEG is called electroencephalography. It's the full name. And you use this by putting kind of a cap on the participant's head, and it has in it the locations where you have these sensors, and those sensors are picking up electromagnetic fields created by brain activity. So it's amazing that our brains are actually generating electromagnetic fields due to the movement of ions down axons and so on. So this technique actually allows us to pick up this product of brain activity itself directly. It has wonderful temporal resolution, so you can get down to even the millisecond in terms of brain responses, and look over very small timescales. Which is good for when you're thinking about TV ads, which are this unfolding process. So you can look at this second or this second, and one may be doing great, and another one may be not doing so great because of the content at that moment and the context. So the idea of using this technique in consumer neuroscience and at Nielsen Consumer Neuroscience, which is what you experienced in particular, is to basically set people up with this, show people advertising TV ad with one kind of music in one group, and then another group experiences the ad with a different kind of music. And then you look at brain systems that we know are related to behavior. So we kind of know what it looks like in the brain when what you're experiencing is going to influence what you do in the future. We look for those signature responses, and you can figure out, okay, it is worth spending $250,000 to get a license for this piece of music because it is way outperforming the alternative.
But can you get it wrong? Can the consumers, because in a way, you're doing this in lab, which, I mean, I'm a field experience, but I understand it's a lab. So a person comes in, and I remember you look really funny in this hat, and you go into a room, and there's a TV, and then you put on the ads. Can this person, can they fake their emotions or not?
Well, that's the great benefit of this, is that there's really no faking. You know, when presented with a salad and a bowl of French fries, you can tell me you want the salad when you actually would like a French fry. But the brain will say French fry, French fry. It will tell us with clarity what someone feels about what we're sharing, what that person's experiencing. And so that's the huge advantage of these kinds of techniques that are sensitive to implicit processing compared to explicit techniques, which also are very useful and have been used for decades and decades, but they have some limitations in that they're not going to give you access to this non-conscious world, the inner world of the participant. And go on.
No, continue.
Well, it's all about data in the end. So, you can talk for days about how great it would be to, measure brain activities, but do those data line up with actual sales? And that's what companies that have really invested in learning about consumer neuroscience have found is that actually when you do a head-to-head comparison, being able to take brain measures is a very powerful. It has some advantages for being able to predict how an ad is going to perform in market, so to speak. Is this ad?
How do you know when you're doing the testing in the lab and figuring out, okay, during these scenes, the brain activity is towards the results that we want them to feel and think? How do they know later on then, when they show this ad on TV, that this person will go and purchase it in store?
Yeah, well, this is the amazing thing. You don't have to track that person. Just by testing, 20, 30 people from the population, if the study is designed well and you're controlling the environment well and taking away noise, you can take data that actually predicts what the entire population does. So there are ways, and brands are very interested in doing this, of determining the effect of putting an ad out because they want to know about return on investment of spending on getting that ad on air. And there are ways of actually determining how much value they got back from putting that ad on air. They take those data and they compare it with the neurological data, and they find that just those 20, 30 participants gave us results that predicted how well an ad will perform relative to average. So it suggests there's a lot more that's similar about us than we may think. We can learn a lot about a lot of people by looking at just a pretty small random sampling.